I wish to welcome all of us to the first CPD meeting of the year 2022. And I hope that you all started well. And this year, I know the other time we started with just new beginnings by Dr. Frank Jenga. And I think we were hoping that every year as we start off with ourselves in mind. Sometimes we are very occupied with learning the science of taking care of everyone else. But our hope is that as we start each year, we can start with something that takes care of we, just so that we can also be able to continue taking care of other people. And so the discussion for tonight is actually about self-care. And I know, especially as mental health care providers, we are aware, probably we even teach patients about self-care. But the truth of the matter is severally, even when we have taught, we don't do it as well. And so this evening, we have Professor Muthoni Mathai, who is known to many of us, especially those who have gone through the University of Nairobi, because she taught us mental health, many of us at undergraduate, postgraduate level. And she is a great teacher, at least that much I remember. She also is a researcher, and she's had many publications. And what I see, although she didn't tell me that, she loves nature. If you follow her anywhere, you see that she takes very nice photos of birds and insects, very nicely taken. And then that she hasn't told me, but I know from just interacting with her that she loves such things, and maybe she tell us a little more about herself. So we cannot probably describe her fully this evening, but I know that she has great stuff for us on self-care. Professor Mathai, I would like to welcome you to remind us just how to take care of ourselves. And I see you're muted, and I think you might need to share some slides with us. And then just to remind us that I know many of you are not able to openly speak out, but please put in any questions or comments or thoughts on the Q&A and chat, and we are going to address them at the end of Professor Mathai's presentation. Professor Mathai, the floor is yours. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Edith. It's always a pleasure to interact with you. You're one of my very good students. And I really feel honored to be invited to do this. I'm going to turn off my video. You can see it's like I didn't manage to get the lighting proper. So you'll excuse me if I turn off the video and just present without. It looks a bit too weird and dark. Okay. So thank you, everybody. And let me share my screen. And Happy New Year. I forgot to say that at the beginning. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year to you, Prof.
Thank you. And oops. Okay. I have so many things open that problems happening. Okay. It's just opening that and okay, share. Okay, that's I just tell me if it doesn't roll. I'm hoping that it will roll of its own. Put it on, yeah, okay. So my presentation today is, I decided to adopt some of the many presentations we have been doing in the last 2 years. And within the context of COVID-19, that anxiety and psychological and cultivating positive coping strategies. So the objective of this presentation, did the slides move? Yeah, I think they moved.
Yes, they are moving, Prof.
Okay, thank you. So the objective of this presentation is to remind us that we as mental health providers owe it to ourselves to provide mental health to ourselves. What Dr. Koba has just mentioned, we must always remember to always care for ourselves. And I'm throwing out a challenge to each one of us as we start this year of 2022 to ensure we have set aside time for self-care. So that is my challenge to all of you, and that you bring this further. On just a bit of background, which we all know, of course, is that on January 30th, 2020, WHO finally declared COVID-19 a public health emergency of international concern. We thought it would be a short-lived pandemic. We even thought, yeah, it can't go for long, this can't happen. Now we are counting variants. So this one comes and then we count another one. We've just been going through the Omicron and very high figures around December, November, luckily going down. We've now been living with the for nearly 2 years, as in Kenya, I mean, since we first had our first case in 2020. Now, as of today, we are at 321,000 positive cases, 5,565 deaths, still counting. We are, of course, in a way lucky that we haven't been hit as hard as some of the Western countries. Our death rates have not been as high as over December and November. A lot of people who you talk to and who I'd say, oh, I got COVID and I'm at home recuperating. So we somehow have managed to have some kind of resilience or protection or kind of thing, which I won't go into because I wouldn't even understand the science. But so in a way, we have reason to be grateful that if we are here, if we have survived individually, as families, even as we mourn colleagues and relatives and friends that we have lost along the way. And if you Dr. Kwobah, you allow me, let me just project you clinical psychology, has worked in mental health for a very long time, has been a teacher for mental health providers, for clinical psychologists. We have taught together. He did his PhD, we supervised him. And he fought really hard for over 1 year, more than a year actually. He fought really hard. And unfortunately, it didn't end well. And we can just say that he's free now, free from that suffering. He was in coma for a long time. And it was really sad even just seeing him when we went to visit him. But it's a tragic thing because we cannot bury him. And we are stuck. I mean, I see a situation where we seem to be like stuck somewhere. And if anybody has any ideas or solutions, please share with us. So if you allow me, Dr. Koba, can we have a minute of silence for Dr. Kasakala, who was really our colleague, our son, our brother? And just to start now.
That's fine, Professor Mathai.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on, and that is so we are living what we call the new norm, and we have learned to live the new norm. We wear masks whenever we go out of the house. Some of us work from home from time to time, and we wash our hands, we sanitize, we've been vaccinated and boosted. And I hope that all our members have taken that advantage of the vaccines and the boosting. It's not to be taken lightly. And we even got boosted a bit earlier because Dr. Jenga made it possible for us to get boosted. I was very grateful for that. Thank you, Dr. Jenga, once more. Now, part of the new norm, of course, we don't shake hands with friends. We don't hug. We kind of stand apart. We do fist bumps or whatever you want, elbow bumps. And we don't feel easy in such a places, not like the way we used to, there, we don't feel so comfortable going to Sauti Sol concerts. I mean, if before COVID, I would not have missed Sauti Sol concert. But I've been there shouting and jumping. And I never went near it. But anyway, the thing, it is not the way it used to be. We have experienced lockdowns and curfews. We are trying really hard. We are trying hard to stay safe, to keep others safe. But the fear is never too far off. We've gotten used to it, but with this always that fear. And we always wonder, will it ever be the same again? Will we be able to go to the disco, jump, shout in each other's face? And, somehow we don't know. We always thought it was going to be short-lived. It has refused to be short-lived. Now, so stress during a crisis characterized by fear, anxiety, burnout, depression. We know these things because this is our area. These are the things we deal with. Vicarious trauma or secondary traumatic stress. This is the area we deal in. As we care for others, burnout is real, We've had to deal, we are not like frontline workers who we've been working with in Kenyatta, trying to support them. But even for psychiatrists, burnout is real. People are stressed, people are coming, and sometimes all these things going on, and we also get burnout. And people get sad, depressed, apathetic, signs of burnout. They're easily frustrated, you start blaming others, irritable, lacking feelings, feeling indifferent. These are some of the signs of burnout. People disconnect from others socially. Sometimes in extreme cases, you find people are self-neglecting. People feel tired, exhausted, overwhelmed. And then you start feeling like a failure. Nothing you can do will help. You're not doing your job well. You need alcohol, other drugs to cope. That as a coping strategy is one of the areas we have also seen with health workers, particularly those working in the front line, the increase in uptake of alcohol and also sedatives and benzodiazepines as a self-treatment for sleep disorders. So there's also the other thing about vicarious trauma or secondary traumatic stress. These are stress reactions and symptoms resulting from exposure to another individual's traumatic experiences, rather than from exposure direct yourself to a traumatic experience. This is also common among health workers, maybe not so much among psychiatrists, although there are issues of trauma. We listen to people's traumatic stories, and sometimes it can happen. So there's excessive worry or fear about something bad happening, these premonitions, feeling startled, on guard, physiological symptoms, nightmares and images, and the feeling that others' trauma is yours. And this is something we've been hearing from frontline workers, particularly when they have to deal with people who have dying, they know they can't help, and then they have to tell this to the relatives, and then they are listening to stories. And sometimes, of course, we listen to too many stories. And so who is caring for the caregivers? And today we wanted to dedicate it to ourselves. So physician heal thyself, become psychiatrist, heal thyself. I know we are also physicians, but let's think of ourselves as psychiatrists. And we know the symptoms in others, but usually we don't recognize the symptoms in ourselves. Maybe it's some kind of denial that it can happen to me. I could be burning out. I could be having depression. I could, you really, we really need to also recognize these signs that we recognize so easily in others. We need to recognize the signs in ourselves. We need to recognize that in colleagues, family members, and we need to take some kind of action. But the point of today's presentation is, can we take action even before it happens through cultivating a positive lifestyle, a lifestyle that is protective? So some coping strategies, there are many. One is take breaks from watching, reading, or listening to news stories, including social media. Social media, okay, it's good, we connect, but there's so many stories, luckily this year we haven't had so many of that infodemic around the COVID that we were hearing last year. But reading, watching news stories, traumatic events, I stopped watching TV many years ago, and I read my news on the newspaper, because then I don't have to deal with the real life visual images. It's kind of and I haven't missed it. So do we need these images? Do we need them continuously? Do we need to have them constantly? Take care of your body is the other one. Deep breath, stretching, meditation, praying for those who are Christians, eating healthy and well-balanced meals, and drinking plenty of clean water, exercising regularly indoors or outdoors. And outdoors better, because then you also get enough sunshine, fresh air. Trying to get plenty of sleep. You have to dedicate time to recuperation for your mind and your brain to recuperate. Now, avoiding alcohol, drugs, including hypnotics. For us, our danger is that we can very easily take hypnotics. So we need to be very careful about that. Make time to unwind. Try to do some other activities you enjoy, like what Koba is saying, running around, taking photographs of small insects and birds. And it's something I really enjoy doing. So for the last, maybe I think 2 or 3 years, we've been running a small WhatsApp group with students and non-students, where we take photographs of things in nature, and then we post. And you can only post it if it's in nature. You can't selfie yourself, you can't, it has to be nature. You can't take pictures of, you take time out to look for beautiful things. It is called, It Is a Beautiful World. That's what the group is called. So it's try to do things that you enjoy. We enjoy different things. Find out what it is you enjoy, and then connect with others. Connection with others. We are social, humans are social, very social. They need each other. We need each other, and we need time to connect with others. And this is one of the areas where we've had some kind of serious limitations because of COVID. Now we are going back now to connecting with each other. With people are vaccinated, they are boosted, they've been sick and recovered, and it's getting better and better. So even as we take care, we start connecting again with each other. Now, the concept of self-care, WHO has this came up with this concept of self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and community to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without support of our healthcare providers. So it was a concept that was developed for communities, that people can do something for themselves to promote health, physical and mental health. And the concept of self-care looks at promoting a healthy lifestyle on the understanding that a healthy lifestyle is the key to prevention of most non-communicable diseases. And you know, mental illnesses are also belong in that category of non-communicable diseases. And of course, with COVID, this has become particularly important. It has been promoted for frontline workers, for people working in emergency situation. So it has been something that has been picked up a lot. We did this a bit of this with some of our students last year we were doing a project with the Kenyatta National Hospital, frontline workers and some from KU, where we did we're just coming to the end. In fact, we are running our last group. I think we trained a lot of people to do these groups. We did them on phone. We never did them in physical space. So the risk of getting some of these non-communicable diseases is reduced if you do self-care and follow it through. Self-care focuses on three main areas, the WHO concept. One is a nutritious diet. And one of the problems that you may have noticed in our society, maybe this transition from low income to middle income, is the excessive weight that we have been become almost a norm, particularly in the urban centers in Nairobi. We have even got to the point of glorifying weight. And you see it, you walk in Nairobi, we are glorifying it. Fat is beautiful, but fat makes you sick, you know? I'm not disputing that fat is beautiful, and I have no problem with that, but I worry so much we are cultivating a diabetic society, a society that it will be very prone to cardiovascular. And I think we need to start rethinking this. So anyway, a nutritious diet, physical activity and exercise, and emotional health. These are the three pillars of self-care. So we worked on this and adapted the concept of self-care because tracking is the idea of trying to score or check yourself and see how you're doing. And we adopted the concept of self-care to develop a tracking form that motivates the individual to integrate self-care habits into their daily life. That means you're not you're just adding things, and then you're checking yourself and see, how am I doing? So like I said, we tried this out among frontline workers at KNH and KU, and we received a very positive feedback. We did some qualitative interviews as well. And we'll be getting more information on how we do this once we start analyzing the data. So tracking is a way of being accountable. It's like a chart where you're accountable to yourself. And this is one of our forms. I will show it in big because I know this is very, very small. So I would like to take a few minutes and sort of project a word. Let me stop sharing this and share what. Oops, I'm still in the dark or too much light. Sorry about that. Let me share a Word document which will be a bit bigger. Self-care tracking form that we've been using, and print mode. Okay. Wait. So let me come back and project that one before I get back to the slides. Where did it go? Self-care tracking form. So I just wanted to go through some of the items. I hope you can see it. Are you able to see it?
Yes, Prof, we can see it.
Thanks. Yeah. Let me maybe make it just a little bit bigger. Yeah. So we worked on this. We developed this form for these projects, and what you have is, this is an optional thing. It's for you really. We weren't collecting data on the tracking, but then you would fill the month here, and then you put the dates here. That dates from this to that. It is one page is good for 1 week. Okay. And then we looked at a sleep routine as one point, setting up a wake time and a sleep time. This is optional. Don't go for 6:30. Don't look at this 6:30. It's just an example. Say you decide, it's up to you, but you're trying to get at least 7 hours of sleep for us. I know some people say they do okay with 6 hours, but the recommended sleep is really 7 hours. And if you read about sleep, you see that it has also been implemented as causing poor sleep or lack of sleep, not enough sleep, as some of the non-communicable diseases, including diabetes, apart from the ones we know ourselves, like depression and anxiety and all those things. So sleep is really, really important. So so you track yourself, if you give yourself a tick here, if you go to sleep, you wake up on time, and they say set up the same waking time and the same sleeping time, and do it through the week. Don't say today is Sunday, so today I'm going to sleep until 10, because if it's Sunday you sleep until 10, you go to bed and then you won't be able to sleep, and then you start that vicious cycle. I have problems. I'm one of those ones who really have to really dig into it to get to successfully tell myself that nighttime is for sleeping and not for reading and doing things, and then in the morning you're like, oh gosh, do I have to wake up? So this is a tracking sleep time. The next one is staying connected. When we were doing this from the first time, we just said call friends, call family, and track yourself. Try to call somebody you haven't called every day. Talk to people. It's not just for you, it's also for them, family members, people you haven't talked to for a long time. People are getting very, very isolated. Now we've just edited that and say, meet in open spaces, do family meetings in open spaces. So again, these are things you track yourself through the week. Now, we encourage people to have at least 2 hobbies. It's up to you to decide what you want. What I enjoy, you may not enjoy chasing birds and going with the long lens cameras so that you put them in Instagram or whatever, but there must be something that you enjoy doing that is not work related. I know some people are golfers, yeah, and that's amazing and it's a good thing. Others do other things. So try and find something. I would not suggest too much digital social media, hobby, Facebook, because you are there reading people's bad news. People are there saying, this is me in Paris. This is me where, and you're like, oh my God, everybody is having such a great life apart from me. This is me with my new car. And you're like, okay. So do something. Try to do something that you enjoy. And we do a lot of digital world. So I would think digital world is the thing to as a hobby. Then there's something interesting. We had a lot of discussion with the students around this worry windows. It helps for people who worry about a lot of things, to say, okay, so I'm not going to go through my whole day worrying. So you want to think about where school fees is coming from, where this is coming from. I'm setting aside time for it. I'm giving it 1 hour and putting it down. So some people keep a worry window, problems or problem solving. Students said, we don't want to have a worry window. We want to have a problem solving time. That's great. You know, you set aside a time for it. This hasn't been one of my things because I'm not a warrior. I did it, and then I realized there was nothing I was worrying about. So it changes for different people. So instead of going through the whole day over the same thing, you know, then there's the well-being practices. This is connection with your inner self, with your spirituality, connection with a higher being, whomsoever or whatsoever you take him to be. It's not really about religion. It's about connection with a higher being, spirituality. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's prayer. For others, it's meditation is a mindfulness is a form of meditation. And try to set aside some time just to be silent with yourself and with your inner self and with your higher being. So I will not say I'm very good at that myself, but you know, it's sort of one of those things where I seem to not really get it, but I keep trying. So even if it's not working very well, you're not scoring too high, you're not competing with anybody, you're just competing with yourself. And then you say, okay, let me try this a different way. Okay, exercise, walking. Sorry, I should remove that. These are just examples. Walking is an example. It's up to you to decide which one you want to do. The walking thing has, or jogging, some people go for jogging. Others, we just walk because our knees may not be able to withstand that kind of pressure. So, and there's so many other things you can do to exercise. But get out and do something with your body. Apart from burning calories and avoiding all those other non-communicable diseases, fresh air is good. And I know also, of course, it's not always easier to get to the greens, and sometimes it's not always safe. So you have to find a safe place to do this. You may find that you're doing a lot of it indoors, which is also okay. You know, you can do it indoors. Now, the other thing which you know, was always a gratitude journal. I was reading a paper the other day, and it said, you know, the type of gratitude, there are 3 types of gratitude journal, where we had people saying, what is this gratitude thing? And gratitude, I think, and my example was like, if you, in a country where a lot of people are Christians, count your blessings. There used to be a song, name them one by one, is really what you're talking about. Gratitude keeps you away. It redirects your mind from the bad things and the negative things that are happening to look for positive things. Sometimes you may struggle very much in the day, but just being alive today, just breathing, being able to breathe, and the air is going in and it's coming out freely, it's reason enough to be grateful. So keeping a gratitude journal is a nice positive way of reducing stress. It redirects your day. You can decide to keep your gratitude journal in the morning or in the evening, and it doesn't have to be big things, you know. You can repeat the same thing every day, of being alive, having a healthy body, of having a healthy family. I met so and so today and I'm grateful, or this happened and I'm great. You know, it's like that. So gratitude journal. Now, count your blessing, name them one by one. So you don't have to do very many. 3 are enough. Three things you're grateful for that day. charity. This one is, and I didn't have it in the original one. That's why it doesn't even have a number. We're going to add a number to it. And we were doing this presentation with Dr. Kigamwa, and he brought this one up. And it's very interesting because giving, charity giving, doing good to others without expecting return. If you have, I will might project a little WhatsApp thing that was going around. It's thing about what happens when you do good things to others. It doesn't have to be money, doing something good, you know. And what happens in the area of oxytocin. And I checked it out and I found that there were actually some scientific papers which have been on what happens when you do something for others in terms of the hormones. Now, eating fresh fruits, fresh veggies, I don't think I need to go very much into that, drinking plenty of fresh water. Now, we put this, like avoid sodas and sugar. So if you avoid that day to drink sugar sodas and juices, and you avoided alcohol that day, then you can give yourself a score. And if you didn't, then you don't give yourself a score. I'm not saying that we all have to be all non-alcohol drinkers. I drink, so I'm not preaching whatever, but when I drink, then I don't give myself a score. And then you keep your daily score. And remember, each box you tick one is a one. So like this one would give you something like usually about 7 or I think 8 now, because we added the charity one. So, and you're competing not against other people, you're competing against only yourself. Now, give me just 1 minute to, stop sharing first. Let me stop sharing that and quickly, I can see my time is, okay. Do something else here. And download. No, not that one. And oops. Sorry, let me see whether I can, I'm able to present this one as well.
No problem, Prof. You just get it.
Okay.
As you get it, I almost feel like we probably need to print a booklet with 52 of those leaflets for ourselves.
For ourselves. By the way, that's what I do. I have a binder. I print and then I put a binder, one page for every week.
No, it sounds like a very good idea. Like we should actually have it. I really like the form, and I want to hear what other people say. And as we wait for Prof to put up that something that she's looking up to project, remember that you can chat with us or ask any question or even have comments on the Q&A or chat, and we will read them at the end. We continue to thank you for joining us. And I hope as you listen to Prof, you're thinking through that chat. How would you have done this week, for example, if you are thinking for yourself? I know probably I wouldn't have done very well. I'm also thinking through the one that he said on Sunday, I shouldn't sleep. You know, those are the things that we love to do. The whole week I've woken up at 5 a.m. So I think you're ready, Prof. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me show you. This went just, I didn't intentionally look for it, but it was going through WhatsApp. Some of you may have seen it.
Simple it is to make people feel good. I was walking down the streets of New York City, and a guy walking in front of me, his backpack opened and a bunch of paper fell out.
I don't know whether the volume can go up a bit or everyone's
Sorry. Sorry, the volume is low. Or is it because can you hear?
I think you can play it again, we see, but I felt that it was very slow for me.
Okay,
maybe
it was low for you.
Yes.
Okay, let me go back and.
Generosity is how simple it is to make people feel good. I was walking down the streets of New York City, and a guy walking in front of me, his backpack opened and a bunch of paper fell out on the street. I didn't think much of it. I bent down, I gathered up the papers, handed them back to him, and pointed out that his bag had opened. Now, in our bodies, there's a chemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin is responsible for all the warm and fuzzies, unicorns and rainbows. It's responsible for all the warm feelings and connectedness we have with each other. Friendship, love. Huge amounts of oxytocin surge through a woman's body as she gives birth. This is what is responsible for the mother-child bond. Oxytocin binds human beings. There are many ways to get oxytocin. One of them is acts of kindness and acts of generosity. It feels good when we do something nice for someone. It feels good when someone does something nice for us. On this particular day, I did something for someone with no expectation of anything in return. I got a little surge of oxytocin. I felt good. He turned to me and he said, "Thank you. It feels nice when someone does something for us with no expectation of anything in return." He felt good. I walked to the end of the street. I'm waiting to cross the street. And a total stranger who happened to be standing next to me said, "I saw what you did back there. That was really cool." As it turns out, witnessing an act of generosity releases oxytocin, and he felt good. And the best part about oxytocin is the more oxytocin we have in our bodies, the more generous we become. It is Mother Nature's way of trying desperately to get us to look after each other. I can guarantee you that that man who witnessed what I did something nice for somebody that day simply because he saw someone do something nice for somebody that day. So what if we commit to do something nice for someone with no expectation of anything in return? Imagine what happens at work. Imagine what happens at home. Imagine what happens with our friends. But it must be genuine.
Okay, that's, let me stop sharing that. And I'm almost done. Eh?
No, you're doing very well, Prof. And we like that video, so makes the discussion very interesting.
Okay, okay. So I had diverted after the form. So you've seen what the form looks like in Word. So now there's the question of accountability, and that is which is defined as responsible behavior, doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it. Because that is where we fail a lot. You know, we always make these resolutions and New Year resolutions by March. It's gone. You know, that's what accountability is. It's doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it. Now, it has been found that sharing loudly, verbalizing to others is a powerful tool for accountability. Some people have cultivate an accountability person deliberately. This is a person who is helping the other to keep a commitment. Accountability groups are smaller groups of persons who meet online or offline and who have goals in common. So for example, with our project in Kenyatta, we sort of like had small accountability. We had groups of health workers, so they'll say how you're doing, how you're performing, how is it going, and you know, and what do you commit? I did one of the groups at a time when we had so many. I was also running a group, and in our group we always said, what do you commit? Everybody has to commit to something that they want to accomplish in the week, and within our self-care strategies and forms. So that is verbalizing. The group members hold each other accountable also for meeting their personal goals, which in this case was to meet some goals within the self-care form. And then again, to remind you, it's not about winning. It's not a competition, really, even if you're in an accountability group, but it's just being part of the same race. You're all racing together. So in summary, COVID-19 has changed the way we live, work, and socialize, and the COVID-19 generates a lot of anxiety and stress, and healthcare providers all over, including psychiatrists, are experiencing burnout, and it is time to rethink new ways to fight back. Stay safe and stay healthy. Integrate self-care habits into your family and your family's lifestyle. And look for an accountability. If you want to cultivate this and you want it to work for you, look for an accountability partner, or even better, an accountability group. It is about promoting
group is maybe I'd have done very well, but I want to thank you for reminding us that it's not about how I score relative to anything. It's relative to myself. I think that's really awesome. And I want to thank you also for reminding us that we need 2 hobbies. I was just again looking quickly about hobbies that I participated in the last 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, well, I have a lot of work to do. I hope everyone has had a self-reflection as we are going through this. So I know there are people who are asking for the presentation and for the form, and I hope you really share with us. Actually, one of the things that crossed my mind was that you probably needed to put for us on the website, on the KPA, but even many other people. I think it's a very, very
You can send
form.
it to anybody. We've been sending it around freely.
Thank you very much for that. And I think I like that you're reading the newspaper. Again, it's very, very interesting. It's true, especially because you can only read so much. You know, one of the challenges of being on social media is that you'll have intended to look at, say, what Chitai, for example, posted. But before you know, you've looked at 30 people and it's been 2 hours. So I think it's very useful. I'm sure Nation Media and all the other people who print newspapers would be very happy if we went back. I think we think it's digitalization, it's interesting, but at the end of the day, it's cost us in terms of self-care. So we really thank you for sharing that. And honestly, I think the next time we are binding any gifts for doctors, especially in psychiatrists, we probably need to bind that book and send them with a nice name and remind them that after they've taken care of everyone, they need to take care of themselves. So as I wait for questions, please remember to send a chat. There was also Dr. Violet, and she was saying, thank you very much for what you have shared and congratulations. I'm sure she's congratulating you for the awesome work that you've done, and they really want to have the tools shared with you. Please continue sharing. I think I want to invite 2 people so that I don't talk too much. And I know there are 2 people I asked that they can be panelists. One is Dr. Frank Jenga. I just want him to make a comment regarding what has been shared with us as we wait for questions, and anyone else would like to ask to make a comment about self-care. I'm sure he's had a lot of experience. And Dr. Frank Jenga, I know you were there and you'd like to share with us a thought or a comment regarding
I don't know if I'd like to, but I think since you've asked me to, I will. I have to say, Prof. Mathai and I go back some time, and you know, we agree and understand one another reasonably well. I have enjoyed this presentation. I wasn't sure what would be presented to us. I was half afraid, not fully afraid, but only half afraid that we would get what I call an American PhD psychology student type presentation that lists exercise and vegetables and not smoking and things that my grandmother knows better than I about what to do. What I like is that this being a forum of men and women who are learned in the field of mental health, to a large extent, we have remained faithful to that general theme. So having given that background, one of the things that I would like to share from an old man's experience is that although the professor has presented it as though you wake up, then you pray, you then go and exercise, and then you go and talk to. It's not quite like that in the real world where we live. For example, for those who prefer to do an early morning jog, whether it's at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, whether they do it on a treadmill on this busy street, you can actually run on the treadmill, think beautiful thoughts, connect with whoever higher being you like. Relax around it at the same time, and tire yourself to prepare yourself for the evening sleep. In other words, when an observer looks at you, you are only ticking one box. But you yourself, you know that by being on the treadmill, you're thinking, you're connecting with God, you're keeping physically fit, and you're also keeping mentally fit. So it's not, so that's the first point. The second point is, if I was asked to take photographs of ladybirds, it would kill me. I mean, it's the most boring, most useless activity in the world, right? So I would do it for, as work, but I'm certainly not going in the rain in Karura where it's muddy to take pictures of things I don't like. So I think the point that is made here today is that what makes the professor relax and be happy might be punishment to me. And really it's for me to negotiate with myself about what works. The third thing, which is similar and to the first one, is that people, Professor said I play golf, which is true. I will not apologize for it. But on the golf course, depending on who you have chosen to go on the golf course with, you are out in the green, which is recommended by yourself. You are exercising, and I can tell you, on the golf course, we walk between, depending on the length of the golf course, it can be 6 to 8 kilometers in an afternoon or morning, whatever it is. That's good exercise. And depending on your golf partners, I have found the golf course the most intellectually stimulating environment, because if you have chosen a partner that you spar with on intellectual things, so again, on the golf course, there is physical exercise, there is being together with other human beings, there is sharing. So again, I go back to the first point. If you choose to go on the golf course, you can engage intellectually, you can visit a friend, you can talk to a friend, you can do a whole lot of other things. I have to say I liked the New York oxytocin story. And I have to say the science behind giving being a good thing is not only in the Bible where it says it is in giving that we get, or some similar words. The science of it, I think, was first given to us by a chap called Richard Dawkins, who wrote the book, The Selfish Gene. And his argument, which I really like, is that when, you see, giving is an act that promotes survival of the species in a Darwinian sense. Because when I help you, it means if you're my brother, for example, or my son or my daughter, the act of giving has an element of survival of our species. And anything that I do that allows our species to grow is a good thing for us. So Richard Dawkins argues that this oxytocin that is released when you help others, and that's why I like what I think Dr. Kigama was suggesting to your, with yourself, giving is a good thing, is actually, it's not just a lay thing. It
I don't know whether it's everyone or Dr. Frank.
I think we've lost Dr. Jenga.
Yes, I think the network.
His network. Oh, he's back.
He's back.
Okay.
Welcome.
I dropped.
Yes.
Oh yeah, actually I can now see it wasn't. You know, I do have one or two enemies. I think they've come together to work. So, but I think they've been chased away. So all I was saying is that there is a kind of low-level science that suggests that giving is for the survival of species in a Darwinian sense. So that's all I wanted to say. An excellent presentation, Prof.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to say that it's been interesting and very useful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Frank Jenga. You know, one of the things that you added to what with Professor Mathai's wisdom is that sometimes we get overwhelmed because there's so many things. So when do I call someone? When do I exercise? And I think one of the important points you've highlighted is the wisdom to be able to do the mix so that you achieve many things at the same time. Then you don't have to complain that you don't have time. I think for me, that's very, very useful. Dr. Markanyango, I think you wanted to add a point, to make a comment regarding spirituality. We'll give you 1 minute. We are already at 8 o'clock.
Beautiful presentation. I really thank Mathai, my friend. And yeah, just to add on spirituality, there's one thing I've noticed in my practice. Emotions like negative emotions like unforgiveness, jealousy, bitterness, anger, they foster illness, and it's not, it's not part of wellness. So like the Bible says, even anxiety, cast all anxieties to the Lord, for he cares for you. But also I know that there are men of God who do healing by taking people through, from the history, taking people through forgiveness of past events and past pain that has caused suffering. So that is one area that in spirituality, you know, that helps to promote wellness. And on the other side, fostering godly emotions or positive emotions like love, forgiveness, caring, like the video you showed us of the oxytocin stuff, helping and giving actually promote wellness. And those are some of the secrets we need to learn as individuals, as healthcare workers first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Markanyango, for reminding us that in addition to exercise and eating, all these things, we also need to check on the things that are dragging us down. And it's true that many of us have held on to very many things that happened in the past. And even when you want to sleep, you can't sleep well because it's also bothering you, or you can't enjoy the food that we've been told we should be able to enjoy. You can't even take that long to take a video of the bird because you are very angry about a certain person. So I think all that is very useful, and we really thank you. I think Dr. Mathai, Professor Mathai, one of the things that was I wanted to ask myself, is there an average score? Now that each of those boxes has one score, is there something that can make me, if I took that from tonight, is there anything that makes me feel like I'm doing well enough, just so that I can improve and even not comparing myself with others?
I think I wouldn't put an average score to it. What I would say is you're seeing an increase. The best thing is if you're seeing an increase. Yeah. It's not supposed to stress you. You're supposed to be enjoying it and saying, oh, today I did this. And there are some days when you're going to do low on it and some days not. So I really would not put an average score to it. Just go for it and see that you are increasing. And then, you know, at the end of the week, you can check where you've done well. And then you say, oh, this is one area. You can also count it the other way and see, oh, this area is good. I'm good at this. And now I need to improve on the other one. And you can still tick if you're doing double, like Dr. Jenga said, you know, if you're doing double, like things like you're doing yoga, you're doing some minutes of meditation, then you can tick too. So. Yeah, yes.
And that sounds very good. One of the other things that I kept wondering about, I know, of course, it's great to print, and we don't want to encourage ourselves to be so much on the social media, but I know we have a very digital generation. And maybe one of the things that I've been thinking about is whether this form can actually be on an app. And it sort of gives you some scores even so that you can quickly, in your digital world, many of those people here will have a problem with just printing. so that they have an app, and maybe they can even weekly scores. And I think that would be maybe your next project or something to consider. Have you thought about that? Has anyone suggested that?
Yeah, the students have suggested that it may be even possible that this form of score exists. All these things exist. There's nothing new that, like I said, this self-care is a WHO concept, and all that I did was put it into a tracking form. So there may be other apps of the same type which you can find, but yeah, the students were interested in having it as an app. So
maybe you should encourage them to do it. I think some people here might actually be interested.
Yeah. Somebody who is really good at it, go for it. I mean, this can go turn it into an app, and then you even form groups to see, now next week, let's see who is doing what. Okay. But I think I found I've been in accountability group for 1 year, and I'm not in one now, but I found it really useful, to keep myself on track. Helps.
Wow. We really want to thank you, Prof, for that. Like Dr. Jenga said, it's a very interesting way of putting it. When we said self-care, probably people wondering what's new. I know everything about self-care, but you've given us a very interesting perspective and very practical. And we will remember as much as possible, even if we don't print a form, to keep track of how we are doing and keep improving. And to remember that we are only competing against ourselves, not anyone else. And it's continuous improvement. We really, really appreciate you. And it's now 8:07, and we're hoping as much as possible, we can be keeping it at 1 hour as part of self-care, so that all of us can go back to our families. So we really want to thank everyone who joined us. But before I close, I wanted to invite our president, Chitai, Dr. Chitai. I know it's a new year. We just say a word or two. And just to keep reminding us that every Thursday, we hope to keep meeting. We will make every effort to have as many CMEs as possible, like I said from the beginning, to ensure that you will not struggle with CPD points at the end of the year. Please join us and plan for a Thursday. It's mostly between the last Thursday or the third Thursday of the month. And we hope that you'll continue keeping us company. Of course, in the next CMEs, we are going to make sure that it's a lot of scientific stuff, but we said we always want to start with us, because we can't give health when we don't have health ourselves. And we thank Prof very much, and Dr. Jenga and Dr. Markanyango for contributing to that discussion. Dr. Chitai, if you have any comment to wrap it up for us. I see a comment. Thank you, Dr. Catherine Mutisia, for the comment. She says, congratulations, excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Chitai?
Thank you, Dr. Koba, and I want to apologize that my lighting may be a bit lousy today. I also seem to have the same problem as Prof. Mathai. My lighting broke down, so I'm have to make do with some poor lighting this evening. But I'm also very grateful for the presentation by Prof. Mathai, who is always a pleasure to hear from, and as your students, we are eternally grateful for the contact we've had with you. And this evening's topic really is quite appropriate for the start of the year, when for most of us, we could still be setting our goals for the year. So probably one simple one would be to improve on our self-care. And a lot of times we have knowledge of these things, but unfortunately, we don't necessarily put them into practice. And so these reminders, like in today's webinar, come in handy. Some years back, I got a chance to speak to the oldest person in my village. And there have been many myths around this gentleman who has lived over 100 years about the secret to his longevity. So I had a session with him about an hour or so, and asked him, a few questions about what was the true secrets, and he told me a few things, which I would like to share with you this evening as part of this webinar of self-care. So one of the things he told me is that one must be able to manage their anger. They should avoid alcohol and believe in God. For him, those three main things were the ones that had led him to live for long. And I believe that at his age, probably had also taken examples from his peers. And when you look at what he told me, generally was simply good mental health. He probably, in a rural setting, probably there are times when you even go without meals and such, rural setting. And so, but good mental health, it is knowledge that was known to him and he put it in his own words. But really, I looked at that as the main, secret for his long life. And it's interesting that for a man who did not have much of formal education, he was knowledgeable about what it will take to have him live a long life. And he's still alive, even as we talk. I spoke with him about 4 years ago or 5, and today he's still strong, As healthcare workers and especially psychiatrists, we have many reasons or many causes of stress to ourselves. And one of them is financial issues, expectations from our families, but also expectations from the society at large. There are issues of comparing ourselves to others, and basically just neglecting some of the things that we've even had today about social and spiritual investments that lead to good life or to long healthy lives. And so this year again, in this country, we are going through an election, and Dr. Prof. Mathai spoke at length about the stresses that have come due to COVID. But 2022 is an election year, and as we know, in this country, elections come with a lot of anxiety. We saw how the last election was very difficult. In fact, for many Kenyans, including myself, that's the time we stopped watching news because everything became extremely negative. And it could elevate a person's anxiety. So this year again being an election year, I think it's a year that we must again look out for our mental health, but also take the lead in terms of caring for our society and helping elevate the anxiety that will be in this country. I remember towards the 2017 election, I attended a conference at USIU about pre-election anxiety. So perhaps Dr. Koba may be thinking about how to have something similar so that again we can give that touch to Kenyans to make things easier in a very difficult, seemingly difficult year. At my own personal level, 3 or 4 years ago in 2017, but until 2017, I did not have a very constant hobby, so I was just pushing through, But in 2017, I decided to go back to a sport I played in high school, which is tennis. And so I met, friends whom we began then playing with regularly and so on. And obviously, one lesson I've learned is that if you pick up a hobby, it may take some time some patience to actually master the skills. I'd forgotten everything. So I started from in tennis. You started by knowing how to hold a racket. That's the first skill you learn. So fortunately, I had some good friends who were patient with me, and currently that is a constant hobby. But it is a game that is also easy to learn. And Dr. Jenga has told us about golf, and tennis can also be.
Dr. Chita, you muted yourself, or you are muted somehow.
Sorry. Yeah. So you can pick up a coach. There are many coaches around here. There are many places you can play tennis, which sometimes looks like an exclusive sport for you. But there are many sports, especially if you're in Nairobi, places like Utalii, Karura, Public Service, Impala, Nairobi Club. For a small fee of even 400 bob, you can play a game, and with 1,000 bob, you can pay someone to play with you for an hour or two. And after some time, when you master the skills, you can actually just go on and now play with the other persons who may be interested. It's a very socially oriented sport. So it is one that I would recommend to us. Otherwise, I am grateful about today's discussion, and I'm looking forward as the year goes on and as we delve into other topics. I believe that we must once in a while come back to this topic of self-care. Thank you, Dr. Koba, and back to you.
Thank you very much, our president, Dr. Chitai. And I think just to summarize by saying, self-care is putting our own oxygen masks so that you can be able to help others. It's not selfish. You cannot help others if you're not alive and well. So let's endeavor in 2022 to go out of our way to check out for ourselves so that we are not always just looking out for people. So we really thank you. Thank you to our presenter. Thank you to all the panelists who've contributed. Thank you for keeping us company. Until the next Thursday when we meet, God bless you. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.